and Stephany Henriquez. Clarisa is a marketing manager at GMAC, the Graduate Management Admissions Council, and Stephany is a strategy, analytics, merger and acquisition senior consultant at Deloitte. As always, it's a pleasure to have you both today. Have you ever been in a classroom filled with students in your same major and wondered, am I good enough? How will I stand out? Well, don't get me wrong, having a degree is incredibly important, particularly at a graduate level. Your degree will get you through the door, and the experiences you'll garner will have some attention. But it's the little things, the things you learn along the way, that will make a bigger impact and set the difference between you and the person who doesn't get the opportunity. Luckily, your two guests here have extensive experience in renowned companies and can help you develop the soft skills that so many global companies are searching for. Before we begin, keep in mind that we are repeating this session in Spanish at 4 p.m. Pacific time, that is 7 p.m. Eastern time. So feel free to join us as well as share with your friends. Also, I want to mention that we're having a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to ask any questions in the chat and we'll be answering them toward the end of the session. Also, we'll be giving out a $50 Amazon gift card to a random member of our audience who stays with us till the very end. With that being said, let's get started. All right, so Clarisa and Stephany, it's a pleasure to have you both today. Would you please introduce yourselves so our audience gets to know you a lot better?
I can go ahead and get started if you're okay with that, Stephany.
Of course, go ahead, Clarisa. Thank you.
Yeah, well, like Valeria said, I'm the marketing manager here at the Graduate Management Admissions Council, known as GMAC. I don't know, I have over 15 years of professional experience. I'm actually born in the Dominican Republic. I was raised in Puerto Rico. So I did my fair share of working professionally in Puerto Rico as well as the United States. So I definitely have kind of different aspects of kind of like what corporate or professionals or employers are looking for in different lenses. So I'm really happy to be here, share what I know, and get to learn from you guys based on like some of the questions that you ask, and excited to be here with Valeria and Stephany as well. So I look forward to hear from you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, Valeria, Clarisa. Thank you for inviting me. And well, thank to all of you that join us today. My name is Stephany. I am from El Salvador, and I studied my MBA in EGADE Business School here in Mexico. I am an industrial engineer, and currently I am working as senior consultant at Deloitte. And my main experience is in operations, continuous improvement, and project management. And I'm very happy to be here. And it's going to be a pleasure for me to share a little bit of my experience with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that introduction. The first question is for you, Clarisa. So as we touched on earlier, there are certain skills that help you stand out. For those of you who aren't familiar with said skills, can you elaborate more about them? Which are they? Why are they important? And can you provide us with some examples?
Absolutely. So again, some of the things that we mentioned, aside from what you know and what you're good at, there's some skills considered soft skills, right? So there's a lot of those skills are more important than others in order for employers or based on your educational. So some are useful depending on what you're doing. But recently we did a research to recruiters, and there are some skills that are most important for getting a job, and some of them are leadership, motivation, interpersonal skills, strategy and information, and business ethics. Those are some of the skills that are most hot in the market, like we call it. About 62% of the recruiters said that learning, motivation, and leadership are one of the most appealing to candidates when it comes to candidates. 61% said that interpersonal skills are the most useful, and 60% said strategy and innovation are also some of the top skills required. So again, not only from aspects of career, but in an educational development or an educational scenario, those are some of the skills that we could consider are being in the lookout. So wanted to probably jumping a little bit ahead on some things that we're going to be discussing more in depth later on, but those are some of the examples as you requested, and I think that we'll learn more from those that are more some that we are born with, some that we learn based on that experience that we have. But that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, no, that's extremely interesting. So thank you for sharing that. And actually, when I was hearing you talk, I could think for myself, like, like there's certain things that I was born with, like you said, like I just have like innately, and other skills that I definitely could work on. So going off of that, I was thinking, it makes me wonder, how can you know what skills to focus on and develop? And are there any specific skills that you have focused? Stephany, this question is for you.
Thank you, Valeria. Well, to decide on what soft skills to focus on, I would suggest as a first step to think about the soft skills you usually need in your job. Maybe on your whole career, or you can also think on the attributes you see in your leaders and you would like to have. And once you recognize these elements, I think you will know on what soft skills to focus on. That's what I have done to define the ones that was important for me, and the ones that I wanted to work on. Because for instance, in my job, I am used to develop different kind of projects. So I do on the attributes that I needed to succeed on it. And for me, the most relevant were communication and leadership. Because most of them are key to work in teams, in your interaction with your customers, and to get the expected results from your projects. So I decided to focus on developing those one, and that have had very good results for me.
Yeah, no, that's makes complete sense, actually. So seeing as you majored in industrial engineering, it makes sense how those skills are important for your career, but knowing them and actually working on them are two completely different things. So I'll start with you, Clarisa. What are some of the big picture ways to develop the soft skills?
I think definitely finding a way of putting yourself in positions to learn them and practicing them. So definitely going outside of the box or of your comfort zone to be ways to do that. Like I said a little bit earlier, some people have interpersonal skills that are born with, right? There's not necessarily a way for you to learn to be a people person unless you put yourself in scenarios. Again, not everybody pursues an opportunity as in the customer service environment. So those are definitely opportunities to do that. I would say if you are a little shy or maybe not be as confident about getting to talk to others, I would say try to join some kind of opportunities and groups within your school or maybe in your organization that allows you to kind of engage and get to know other people, that you can use maybe some elevator speech so you can get to start to learn to introduce yourself. So I think putting yourself in those positions that you're not used to being in, and then seeing or connecting with people that you notice, oh, that person really carries themselves well, or that person really knows how to talk to people. I think making those available connection and networks, I think that definitely would put you in a good spot.
No, that makes complete sense, actually. And it reminds me of the saying, you are the average of the 5 people closest to you, so definitely if you surround yourself with people that are more outgoing in a certain regard, like you can definitely hone those skills. And yeah, I mean, more specifically, and Stephany, this is for you. What steps have you taken to build the skills that we have mentioned earlier?
Well, from my experience, I would say that the first step was to choose on what skills I wanted to focus on, thinking what were the most useful for me, considering my profession. And once I have selected them, I made a self-assessment to understand how much I needed to improve each of those. I think you can try to assign each skill into a category, for instance, basic, medium, or highly developed, and based on your conclusions, define a plan to work on each one. That's what I have done, and for me, works very well. I think there are many resources you can try and incorporate into your plan, such as reading books, taking classes. But in my experience, and as Clarisa were mentioning, the most efficient method is to practice. Practicing is the best way to improve. So my recommendation would be expose yourself to situations where you can practice the soft skills you want to develop, and gradually you will see your growth in those attributes. So I would say from my experience, I defined that I wanted to focus on my leadership skills and communication, and then I started to think on what I was doing and how I was managing those skills during my projects to understand the improvement, the opportunities that I had in those ones, and how to tackle them, of course, the most relevant part. So now I would say that I always try to be conscious when I am using those skills to do it as best as possible. And I always try to keep practicing and always growing in those attributes.
Yeah, and sorry, Valeria, I wanted to add as well. I think that those are definitely good opportunities, and for I think that also being, you mentioned that you were did your MBA in EGADE. I think that one of the good parts about you doing that business degree really allowed you to build a network, and you can identify that kind of like connections and seeing what kind of skills you want to develop based on the connections that you made. So I really like that you do mention kind of like put them in a category. I really like that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's very, very sound advice. So thank you for that. So this is for our audience. The next question is for you. What are the soft skills that you think everyone should know regardless of their major? As you type the answers in the comment section, I just want to remind you that we'll be having a Q&A session at the end. So feel free to put whatever questions you have in the comments, and we'll be answering those shortly. We also have a $50 Amazon gift card for those of you who stay with us till the end of the session. So stay tuned for that. All right, so Clarisa, preparing for the GMAT and an extension, the MBA program, takes a lot of dedication and learning. How important is it to combine learning textbook material versus understanding real-world concepts and situations?
I think, yeah, from a GMAT perspective, I understand that, and we said in the last sessions before, when we have at least at Instagram Live, I think it really helps you with your mindset and thinking through what you really going to be experiencing on an MBA. I think from that particular perspective, the preparation not only helps you prepare for the test, and like I said, it does help you prepare for the program itself, but there's a difference between the textbook and some of the older materials. I think it really depends on the learner, and it's really an individual journey. So it really helps, whatever works for that individual will really help them resonate. Some people prefer self-studying, some people prefer working with a test prep organization, or even working with a consultant. So really there's value in all of the prep products and resources that we have available. It just really depends on the learning skill of the person that is receiving or learning from some of these products. Not sure if that actually answered your question, but I'll be happy to elaborate accordingly.
No, it really did. But for Stephany, do you consider that the GMAT exam allows you to pick up skills that can translate into your career?
Yes. Well, I mean, the GMAT exam helps you to measure and validate the skills that you will need in your MBA journey, because it measures how much you have developed your analytics and problem-solving abilities, among other very relevant skills that for sure you will need in your MBA. So in my case, those skills have continued being critical along my career, and I consider that should be similar in most of the cases. So definitely, yes, it will help you through your whole career.
That's really good to know. So for both of you, actually, it would be great to have your perspective on this next question. But what are some of the resources that you think could really help students prepare for the GMAT exam? And Stephany, for you in particular, are there any non-traditional methods that helped you learn?
Do you want to start, Clarisa?
Oh, yes, sorry. I wasn't sure if I was on mute or not. I think that one of the resources, we actually have a tool. It's called the Skills Insight. We really determine what your weaknesses and your strengths are. I think that is definitely a great first step in order for those that are not sure where their journey ends or where they're going just yet, start to get to learn more than preparing whether you have decided to attend graduate school or not. It is important that you understand what are your weaknesses and strengths, and what do you need to polish, right? So that's definitely the first material that I would suggest that you kind of dig deep into, and I'll make sure that I add the link here in the chat as well, so you guys kind of can take advantage of that. But we have several other resources that not only help you with preparing for the test or business school itself, but really prepare you for your next step in your professional journey. So again, I'll be happy to share that maybe as a follow-up so that you know of kind of like what's available to you and resources we have available. But definitely a good start will be the skills insight.
Thank you, Clarisa. And well, from my side, as you mentioned, there are many resources available in, specifically on GMAC.com and other websites such as books, preparation courses and materials, maybe test samples or look for communities and others. But talking specifically about non-traditional learning methods, I would mention to watch videos on TikTok. I have seen that there are many influencers now posting videos in TikTok where they solve GMAT exam questions or they provide tips to prepare for the test. And I think this is a very interesting and complementary learning method because in 1 minute, you can see how to solve a type of question or learn something new about the structure of the exam. Or maybe even have a nice tip for your preparation. So you can do it while you are waiting in a queue or heating your food in the microwave. It is very, very helpful.
Yeah, I definitely want to second into that. Sorry, because I think and the good thing about this technology world, right? You can go to any platform and really just see short videos and not only learn yourself, but see what's working for others, right? And determine this is for me or not. So I like that idea. I think even if it's just a 30-second video of somebody doing something you haven't done before, you can give it a try. I think a lot of people go more into it to do more of the challenges, but I think if we were to do a skills development challenge, I think a lot of people will hop into that, right? So I like that, those suggestions.
No, yeah, I love that you guys mentioned TikTok actually, because I'm a strong TikTok advocate for everyone. See, there's so much content, like you said, you know, like I mean, I've used it for everything from like
all of the hacks that you can try.
Exactly. So yeah, it's all about finding like the right accounts, I guess. But the following question is for the audience again. So have you ever taken a test, had an interview, or been in some type of situation where you're prepared for one thing, but what you were asked was completely unexpected or different? Tell us about your experience in the comments, please. I just want to remind you that we'll be having a Q&A session at the end. So again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll happily answer toward the end of the session. And again, we have a $50 Amazon gift card for those of you who stay with us to the very end. Now, Clarisa, this one's for you as well. I know MBA programs offer a ton of connections, but are there any trends that you've noticed, or have you spoken to other companies, professionals? I'm so sorry, I'm going to repeat that question. Have there been any trends you've noticed as you've spoken to other companies, professionals, or hiring managers? I think you're muted. Yeah.
I apologize.
I
mean, I shared some of that a little bit earlier, and I'll be happy to maybe share a link to the actual survey that we shared that we did for some corporate corporate recruiters. But some of the things that part of that survey do reveals that that business school grads are primed for career success. And there's a percentage of corporate recruiters who agree that 74% of them, business school graduates, says that business school graduates tend to have a fast track to upper level positions. They say 71% of them say that employees with a business school education tend to earn more. And 71% of says that leaders in their organization tend to have a graduate degree of business schools. So if you're not in that path and you may want to think or consider, there's definitely a lot of information and resources available on MBA.com that you can take a deep dive and look into it. But I think those are some of the trends that we're actually seeing or hearing from employers. So having a higher education really pays off. If you are not there yet, make sure that you do follow, start your research, see if it's meant for you. There's a lot of financial aid, a lot of scholarship opportunities that are available to a lot of you. So just make sure that you make the right research. If you need to connect with me. I can definitely share my LinkedIn link in there so we can connect and find out where you're at and what you're looking for. But I think those are some of the trends that we're seeing. I think even if you have some experience of some sort, even if it's not in the field that you're looking for, I think that there's one of the things that we are seeing is that like the recruiters are seeing are that there's not a lot of people don't stay within a role for more than 2 to 3 years, whether that's in the same organization or they pursue a separate company. So again, there's so many opportunities right now, whether they're remote or hybrid. So I think there's so many different opportunities now available, and recruiters are really active looking at you on LinkedIn. So make sure your LinkedIn is open as well. So there's a lot of opportunity on whether you have a current role or you're looking for a role or you're just looking for some experience that eventually will really launch your next step in either your higher education or just growing in your career as a whole. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that answer. Even I learned a lot. But yeah, no, Stephany, let's follow up with you. So as someone who's an MBA alumni, you've actually experienced this whole cycle. What have you noticed in your interviews or interactions with hiring managers? And have you noticed, and so on. Is there anything you've noticed that they're looking for?
Well, yes, in my opinion, I would mention 3 elements that I consider they are looking for. The first one that is very obvious is the technical knowledge that you require to fulfill the requirements of the position. That one is very obvious, but of course is in the list. The second one I consider is the critical soft skills that you need for most of positions, such as solving problems, leadership, teamwork, negotiation abilities, conflict resolution, communication, among others. And I would like to mention that sort of soft skills you can start practicing on your MBA journey. That's one of the benefits you will have. It's a very good place to start working on it, practicing, as we mentioned. And in an interview, you usually will need to support these skills with examples where you have applied them. But I would say that communication is especially relevant because you need to establish a connection with your interviewer through your conversation. So having those abilities can make the difference while they are selecting a candidate for a leading position. And the last one is, I would say, people that make fit with the culture of the organization, as it is very important to share the values of the company, where you want to work, and to be comfortable with your job. So in addition to your technical knowledge, of course, you can start working on these soft skills and looking for places to practice them, and the growth also in this other part that is also very important and very relevant to get your dream job.
Mm-hmm. I love the last advice you gave, actually.
Yeah, I that reminded me of something. I did have an opportunity of speaking with some people that have some role. I mean, with employees from other organizations that they are considering. They're asked some questions about, hey, when I go to an interview, we recently had a webinar with a student organization that had some employees talking about how would be the best way to leverage their interview process and such. And that's that one piece of advice that I did share with them. Now that you're talking about interviews, is that when you're going to that interview, you have to make sure that you learn as much as they're trying to learn from you. It's not a one-way street. You want to make sure that the work culture that they have is good for you, that the benefits that they have is work for you. So just don't be afraid of asking questions. And some of those questions could be, hey, what are the skill sets of the person you're looking for, right? What is it that the person before me in this role has, is there, and then that way you can kind of elaborate, oh, I actually have that skill. And then if not, then maybe it's not the right fit for you, right? So just make sure that when you go on an interview, you want to make sure that you want to work for that employer as well. So this is a two-way street. Yeah. And I hope let's just remind me of that, because that's another trend that I have been seeing from some webinars when we talk about employers and finding your right career, like what is in it for you as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with both of you with that. And actually, that reminds me of something that I saw on social media today. Someone suggested their LinkedIn network to the next interview that they were at to ask the interviewer what makes them proud to work for that company, you know, to figure out whether they resonate with the mission, the values, and I mean, I couldn't agree more. So yeah, great. Thank you for that advice. So this is for both of you. Is there any last piece of advice that either one of you would like to give our audience about developing soft skills for the corporate work?
I'll let you have this one first, Stephany. I feel like I've been talking first the whole time.
Thank you, Clarisa. No worries. Well, my last recommendation would be first one, know yourself as a professional, work to strengthen your weaknesses, not only your technical knowledge, but also your abilities, your soft skills, right? Because of course, this is like the starting point when you want to apply to a different position, maybe go out of your comfort zone. And this is very relevant. It's considered very valuable in a career, and I think it will help you to achieve your goals through your whole career path. So working on these soft skills is key, as we have been talking. And I would say that in my case, talking about myself, my MBA helped me a lot in this journey. Definitely, I would suggest to start creating like your goals, defining which steps do you want to go through, and understand what do you need to succeed in each step that you define.
Yeah, I love that advice. I think that definitely covers it all. I think knowing yourself is the key, really. Understanding, like I mentioned, your strengths and your weaknesses. Luckily, we do have research for that, but in reality, when you're looking for a role, there is a description, there are responsibilities, and then if you are already in a workplace and you're seeing where, you know, maybe this is not the right fit for you, or maybe this is, you want to make a shift, then determine what is it, like in a perfect world, like Stephany said, like build a plan, like what is it that I'm envisioning, that I'm needing in order for me to not only grow professionally, but also personally, and just challenge yourself, right? If there's something that you're really good at, and you really dominate, and you are really you know, an expert on it, what else can you learn, right? Sometimes when you are in a role, it's important that you consider cross collaboration, whether you don't have any, not in a professional role, but maybe educationally, whatever you're actually are in your life. When you see somebody doing a project, maybe put yourself in that position. Hey, let me know how I can help, or let me see what you're doing. Make sure that you attend some lunch and learns, look at some webinars, go to eBright, see what events are happening when in regards to I don't know, IT, or leadership, or how to do a presentation, or how to write a grant. You know, depending on where your role at, just identify what opportunities you haven't explored, whether that's, again, TikTok or YouTube. Just identify what is it that you want to learn this time, and put yourself a goal. Every quarter or every semester, every 6 months, I'm going to learn something new. Every year, I'm going to do something new. So either whether that's you collaborating in a project, learning something, attending a new event every year, being part, I'm not sure where you are in the world, but there are definitely groups. For example, here in the United States, there's what we consider the Chamber of Commerce. So maybe that's an opportunity for you to mingle on their individuals in a breakfast, in a lunch event, in a happy hour. So again, just put yourself out there so you can see what's out there, and what can you learn, what can you do. And I think that once you start doing something new, you will definitely feel like a different person, because you're taking risk, right? But yeah, so that's my sound advice. So I hope that helped.
I absolutely love it. But yeah, okay. So at this time, we'll be transitioning into our Q&A portion of the session. We'll try to go through as many questions as we can. And once again, thank you for joining us, Clarisa, Stephany, and everybody in our audience. And so, well, that being said, remember that we have a $50 Amazon gift card, and the copy is already in the comments. Please fill out the form that we have included there. And yeah, you'll be eligible to potentially win an Amazon gift card. So that being said, let's move on to the Q&A session. So the first question that we have here is from Charles. How appreciative are employers of my honesty if I say that I'm missing some soft skills?
I can take that one if you, okay, I can take a shot at it. So I think that, I mean, you should definitely be as honest as possible, because you don't want to sell yourself for a role and then not, lack in certain areas or maybe affect your performance. But I think what's more important than not having that skill, it's really seeing how your experience really makes up for that. So just talk about the things you have done that really will help you within that skill, right? So if it's a leadership skill that you feel you're not, you cannot lead a whole team. You know what? I have not lead a whole, I haven't had subordinates under me, but I have led people in a project. I have been part of a project. I have taken the lead in it. I have guided them to success. This for the results. So really just find a way of talking about the things that you have done that really contributes to that skill that they require, and to that job requirement or job responsibility or description. Just really talk about that. I think that would really weigh in instead of focusing on the negative. It really gives it a more positive outcome to the conversation.
And I would like to build on Clarisa's comment. I would like to say that my recommendation would be, instead of saying that you are missing some soft skill, say that you are working to improve the ones you consider you have in a maybe very basic level, but explain that what you are doing to improve and the results you have had so far. Because even though the employer can appreciate your honesty, I think it's better, like Clarisa said, focus on the good things and make emphasis that you are working to improve that soft skill and that you have had results so far.
Yeah. I mean, we go back to, you never stop learning. So definitely like a good time to emphasize that.
Yeah, 100%.
The next question is from Angel. Do soft skills apply across all industries?
I think so. I think that in some shape or form, again, we say in English, there's a saying, like, I want to try to translate it. It doesn't really translate well, but they say like life makes a lot of turns, right? So you don't know where you're gonna land. You don't know where you're gonna end. You don't know who's looking at you in your career that may think, oh my God, that person could definitely be promoted to this, or that person could be. So you don't know really who's looking at you. I think even on a personal level, there's a way that you can actually turn off and on what skill you're using at a certain time, what strengths are you using at a certain time, and being able to identify the right time to use this skill is ideal. I don't think learning new skills or developing your soft skill or strengthening them will really hurt you. It will really just support any projects that you're on, any decisions that you make. And I think they really translate regardless of your industry. And it really builds more into your into who you are as a person and how you perform overall.
All right. So the next question we have here.
I'm not sure if you had anything to add, Stephany. I kind of jump on that one too.
Thank you, Clarisa. I think definitely you're right. I think in each role in industry, maybe the soft skills that you will need can be different, but at the end, you always are using soft skills, even in your personal life, right? Because talking with your parents, communicating with your family, with your friend, that's also a soft skill. So I think it's very relevant for all of us, no matter which is our role or which is our industry, start practicing these soft skills and working on them.
Great, thank you both. All right, so the next question is creativity a soft skill? Because I think that's very important. Good point.
Yes, totally. Sorry, am I on mute? No. No, yes, totally. And like I said, it's definitely in the top 5 skills of employers. 60% of employers consider that that innovation, creativity, that strategy portion is really essential. So I think that even if you're not a marketing person, or I think creativity makes you understand that there's more than one way of doing things. And it also helps you leverage any other things that you have working on. So I 100% say yes to that. And again, not everybody is born with that creativity, but if you can polish that, if you can exercise your brain, I'm pretty sure that that's something that you can learn. Again, like Stephany said earlier, you may be on a intermediate level, or you know, you don't have to say you were, you know, that's something that you do completely, but that you have a full creativity lens. But it's definitely something that you entertain. I think that's definitely something you can, you know, express that you have or work on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I just would like to comment that also creativity is anywhere, because you can use it when you are working on a presentation or solving a mathematical problem. So it's very useful, and yes, definitely is very appreciated.
Yes.
All right. So the next question is, are there certain fields that put more emphasis on soft skills than others?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Are there certain fields that put more emphasis on soft skills than others?
I'll let you take a stab at that first, Stephany.
Thank you, Clarisa. Well, in my opinion, they are equally important in all fields and industries. Of course, the skills you will need in each field are different. So if you know yourselves very well, you can also choose your major based on the sort of soft skills you have or you consider you can develop easily. But I think they are equally important because, as we were saying, in a very minor detail, you can find an opportunity to apply a soft skill.
All right. So the next question we have is, how can I show employers I have the soft skills to make up for the technical skills I may be missing?
I think it goes back to what Stephany was saying about how you approach yourself. Just remember that when you're in an interview or with your employer, it depends on your leadership skills as a professional. If you're more about showing rather than saying, I think your work will speak for itself. But being able to say how one thing complements to your technical skills, you know, sometimes saying, hey, I don't have full experience, or I'm not an expert on this, but I am a fast learner, I'm a quick learner. So that willingness of wanting to know, of wanting to do, of wanting to collaborate, like that drive, that self-motivation is really also another soft skill. So again, you can turn off and on the skill that you feel you can use at that time. And I think that's something that you can definitely consider, utilizing that aspect of self-drive or self-motivation to really learn more within your field. So I think that would be my take on that.
Yeah, totally agree with Clarisa. And also I would like to add that in many cases, it could be possible to do it, sharing an experience where you did something similar to what the employer is looking for, maybe not exactly the technical knowledge that he is asking for, but something similar. For instance, I would like to share my experience in this regard. Some time ago, I had an interview with a Mexican company, and I said I am from El Salvador. So the interviewer asked me how the healthcare system works here in Mexico City, right? And as I am not from here, I didn't know much about that. So I was honest with the interviewer, and I told her that I was that I were not Mexican, and I didn't know much about the healthcare system, but in my opinion, it should be similar to my experience in El Salvador. So I answered the question based on my actual knowledge from my country, and she was very satisfied because I showed her that I could solve the problem even without having all the information or the whole context. And that means that I have analytical skills, among others. So I would say that focusing on other type of experiences and trying to use your soft skills to tackle this type of situation can be the best approach.
Awesome. All right. The next question is, what are the common soft skills that are needed by employers?
Well, I kind of covered that at the beginning briefly, but some of the most wanted skills are definitely the self-motivation, the leadership portion, being able, the decision-making, the interpersonal skills, the strategizing and innovating, and also having business ethics. I think those are some of the ones that, based on a recent survey, corporate recruiters responded. And I think, again, I can definitely, like I shared earlier, I can share the link with you guys so you can see more of what the corporate recruiters are saying. But those are some key skills that you may have not been born with, but that definitely you can consider. What can you polish from this, or what do you have within you? I think there's depending on your personality, right? You can develop some harder or easier than others, but there's always, we all have a little bit of each one of them. It's just determining what helps. As I mentioned sooner, our organization has a tool called the Skills Insight. And that way you can actually go through that process, learn what your weaknesses and your strengths are, so that you can determine what areas you could be better. So again, I'll reshare that with you. I'm not sure if you catch that part of this session, but I'll make sure that you have it there, and we'll be happy to help through some of the skills that you feel like you don't have, and then we can kind of go from there.
So thank you so much. Stephany, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you, Valeria. I think Clarisa carried very well. Thank you.
Well, Stephany, this question is actually for you. Did you ever use the STAR method when you were answering questions for an interview?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Actually, yes. I would say that as part of the benefits that you can have from your MBA, they are very proactive when helping you to prepare for your interviews. So always, or in most of the cases, you will have a person that can be with you, helping you to prepare your interviews, and giving you some type of tips to approach different kind of questions. So yes, that's one of the methods that they recommend me, and actually it's a big effort to prepare, because you can try to think in all the questions that they will ask you, and having this like guideline is very useful, because you know all the steps or all the important points that you need to cover in your answers. So I would say yes, and it's a very good approach. For me, it works very well.
Awesome. Clarisa, do you have any experience with the STAR method?
Yeah, I really love it. I think, well, I mean, it really is, it's like storytelling, right? You really, and it's not just, it gives it more personality to the actual interview. You're actually sitting there having a conversation. And I think the interview, again, it's really based on the mindset, right? Like a lot of people go in there nervous, like, oh my God, am I gonna get this job? Am I gonna get this job? But you're really there having a conversation with the person to just really, I mean, I will say like sell yourself, but like sell you are the product, right? You are the service. So they need to sell their company as much as you're selling yourself, right? In that sense. So I think and for those that don't know the START method, it's this S stands for situation, T is for task, A is for action, and then the R is for result. So you have to, at the beginning when they say, can you please explain to us, sorry, I'm just making an example. Can you please tell us about a moment where you had to overcome an obstacle? And then you have to talk about the situation. So talk about what happened, the task, what did you have to do to overcome that? I mean, what do you have to do? And then action is like, what do you actually did to make it happen? And then what was the result? So it's really kind of the flow of the answer to the question. And I think it's really a great way of really addressing a lot of what you're going to encounter. Will you be able to manage this role? Will you be able to succeed if we hire you? So those are the kind of, so again, I love the method. I have used it in plenty of my interviews, interviewing people and actually being the interviewer. And I think it's gonna be, it's great. So do some research on that, find out what the top 10 questions a recruiter asks you, build a plan on how you will answer for each one of them in a START method, and you'll be ready for your interview.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for those answers. And thank you, Camille, for asking that question, because I had no idea what the STAR method was. But now, all right. So with that, we have come to an end to our Q&A session. Thank you again to GMAC and Clarisa and Stephany for sharing such valuable information today. And thank you, everyone who joined us today, for just being part of this. If you have any questions or would like more information, you can always visit studyusa.com. And if you have, or you can also follow us at the official GMAT and Study USA in our social medias for more resources and, well, more tips on your journey. So thank you everyone for joining us. That's the end.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Looking forward to the next one. Take care.